Welcome to We Sing the Bass Electric, a podcast for bass lovers and music enthusiasts of all genres. Join us as we revisit some of the most iconic recordings from different bassists, past and present, discussing behind-the-scene insight and stories that made up some of the most revered albums of our time, all from a bass player's point of view. Now here's your host, international recording artist, Mr. Christian de Mesones, aka Big New York.
During the mid-'70s, radio stations filled the airwaves with music from the Seattle-based band Heart. Songs like Magic Man, Crazy on You, and Barracuda influenced a generation of musicians and songwriters, and their imprint is still relevant today. From the band's incarnation still stands founding member and bassist Steve Fossen, now forever immortalized as a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We Sing the Bass Electric is proud and honored to welcome Steve Fossen. Thanks for joining us, Steve. How you doing tonight?
Thanks for inviting me. That was a very nice introduction. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome. So my first question to you is, why bass, and was this your first instrument of choice?
Well, when I was very, very young, my mom enrolled me in Hawaiian guitar lessons. You know, that's where you put the guitar in your lap and you have a little steel bar and you go up and down the strings. And then I played trumpet for a while. And then when the Beatles came out and I realized that Paul McCartney was the bass player, that's when I decided I wanted to play bass.
So growing up, what music were you listening to and who was some of your influences?
Well, of course, I mean, I was born in 1949. I hate to admit it, but it's the truth. So there it is, you know. So all during the 50s, I mean, I was listening to the Everly Brothers, Elvis Presley, Ricky Nelson, Roy Orbison, you know, Bobby Vinton, you know, all the girl groups, and all that influenced me. I loved it. There were songs that made me cry, and the thing about it was, back in those days, everybody had like a '57 Chevy, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, the '57 Chevys had a steel sheet metal dashboard, right? And the radio speaker was mounted in the dashboard. And back in those days, all the radios were tube, you know, tube based. And the bass sounded so fantastic. And I just remember just riding around in the car, just feeling that bass and just loving it so much. And then, so I was really inspired by music, and I really love the two-part harmonies of the Everly Brothers. And so I was just going along in my life, and, you know, I played the trumpet, and I thought, well, the trumpet's kind of square. I was a rock, you know, I thought like I wanted to play rock, but I really never did anything about it. And then in 1962, I was riding my bicycle down to my friend's house, and I had taped a little transistor radio to my handlebars, and on came the Beatles. And I was riding along, and I was paying attention to riding, and then all of a sudden I couldn't pay attention to riding anymore, and all I could hear was this music going through my head or through the radio, and I lost track of where I was, and I just about went in the ditch. And I was hooked from then on out. And then I had to go down to the store, and I found, you know, a Beatle album, and, you know, then I would be downstairs, you know, of course I lived at my parents' house, and they'd hear me playing this record over and over and over. And my dad kept asking me, well, what are you listening for? And I said, well, you know, it's the harmonies, it's the guitar parts, it's the drumming, it's the bass part, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I kept talking about the bass and talking about bass this and bass that. And my dad one day, he said, hey, come on, we're going to the music store, we're going to rent you a bass. And he thought it was going to be like a little hobby, and I'd get the bass and I'd play a little bit and give it up and move on and become what he wanted me to become, which was he was in real estate, so he wanted me to kind of follow in his footsteps and do that kind of stuff. But once I got that bass, I mean, it was over. I mean, I come home from school, pick up the bass and play it. And then I got together with my friends and we started a band, and, you know, that's what everybody did back in those days.
Do you remember that the make of that first bass that you rented?
I certainly do. It was an Orlando bass.
I've
kind
never
of
heard of
pop-
Orlando basses.
It was I would say it was from Asia, I would think. I'm not sure, but I can't remember exactly, but it was kind of like a Precision. Had sort of a body shape of Precision and a single pickup, you know, in the Precision type, you know, area, and a volume and a tone. And then I had a Supro amp. I think it was like 50 watts or something with a 15-inch speaker. And, you know, it sounded really nice. So it all worked together. And then once that 3-month rental was up, if you applied that money towards purchasing a bass, then you know, the money just didn't go away. You got credit for it on your new purchase. So I went and I purchased a bass, which was a Hagstrom
Yes.
bass.
Mhm.
And I bought an Alamo amp. It was tubes too. It was like a head and a speaker cabinet. And I've been a tube guy ever since, basically.
Most of us grew up starting with tubes, man. My first bass was a Fender Bassman 100, and I'll never forget lugging it up the stairs in Astoria. I had a gig in Astoria when I was in high school, and I had to call my friend to help me. Somebody had to hold the tube head, and one of us had to lug the bottom. So yeah, back in those early days, man, we really went through some stuff, didn't we?
Well, back then, I mean, especially in my era, the bass had to fill the room because nobody would put bass in the PA system. The PA system was for vocals, period.
Right.
So
That's
the
right.
guitar player he was on his own, the bass player was on his own, the drummer was on his own. The singer was the only one that got reinforcement and for the PA system.
You're right. Yeah.
So you said
So
Astoria, you don't mean Astoria, Oregon, do you?
no. Astoria, Queens. Yes. I've never been anywhere near that area. No.
Yeah, well, Astoria, Oregon is a fantastic town. That's where The Goonies was filmed.
Oh, okay.
And Summer, who is the lead singer of Heart by Heart, is my wife, and she's a Goonie fanatic. So she drags me down there every year, and we have to go to all the touristy things that are around town. And you know, it's a blast. But we love Astoria. In other words, you know.
I'm going to take that lead. I'm going to ask my wife if she wants to do something interesting like that. We're both movie buffs, and we watch a lot of movies. And so I've always wanted to go to Devil's Tower in Wyoming because I've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I must have seen that movie about 100 times. It's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, we dig doing stuff like that. You know, as a matter of fact, I found out that you're playing in Utah right before my birthday on July 10th. And
Really?
and I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool to just fly out to Utah? We've never been there, and just go see you play, you know?
Well, this particular venue, it's an outdoor venue. It's in a community of homes that's it's called South Jordan, which is south of Salt Lake City proper. And there's a really cool little stage, and then there's a great big field where people, you know, put their chairs and whatever. And but last time we played there, it was hot. I'm telling you, it was hot. But we didn't play till the evening time, but the sound check was really hot.
Wow. Yeah. That's kind of a drag. Plus, you got the added effect of cicadas. Now, I don't know if you have too many cicada problems in that area, but we're starting to get them here now in Northern Virginia.
Well, the thing of it is, cicadas are not a phenomenon on the West Coast at all.
Oh, wow.
I remember, this is I'm going back to 1976 when Hart was first touring America back in 1976. You know, we were supporting our debut album, Dreamboat Annie, and that was a cicada year. People kept saying, hey, this is a cicada year. So every once in a while we'd see these trees, you know, like with 1 million bugs hanging around the tree. It's like, wow.
So let me ask you this one. You're known for being a Fender Precision player. Right. How did it become your staple instrument, and was it used on those early Heart albums?
Okay, there's an interesting story going on here.
Okay.
So back in the day, when I had my Hagstrom, we were playing someplace up north, Sylvania. Anyway,
Great.
Sylvan or what, I don't know, I can't remember.
Sure.
But a guy came up and said, "Hey, I've got a Fender Jazz for sale. Do you want to buy it?" And it was really cheap, so we bought it. And I had it for a while, and I really loved it, but for some reason I traded it in for a Precision, and it was a 64 jazz bass, which was really nice. And I traded it in for like a 68 or 69 Precision. And, once Leo Fender left the company, it wasn't the same. So anyway, a really good friend of mine, Ray Hartman, he worked at another music store downtown. And he told me I said I was interested in Fender Precision bass. He says, "Oh, there's one for sale at this music store down on 3rd Avenue. And I went down there. I loved the bass. It was a 1959 Precision. It was owned by a famous guy around Seattle. He was in the Frantics. They had a hit around town. Anyway, so I got that bass, and that turned out to be the bass that I used on Dreamboat Annie.
Okay.
And I did a lot of touring with that bass too between 68 when I got it and 76 supporting Dreamboat Annie. But once we got on the road, I figured like, oh man, this bass is this is my pride and joy here. So I went to other basses. I left that one at home to stay safe.
Is that the same bass that I've seen you play on the video version of Crazy on You, where you're wearing that black shirt with the rainbow sleeve?
Yeah.
It says Fender, but then it has a square decal on it, like a glitter decal on that bass.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I did send you a photo of that 59P bass.
Yes, I have a bunch of photos on you, and I promise to send you the ones that Richard Galbraith gave me, because they're really good.
So what happened was, so we were touring Europe, and we were over there doing some stuff, and they wanted to do a TV show in Germany, but we were in England. So they wanted to fly us to Germany to do the show. Well, we didn't have enough room to bring our basses. So they provided a bass, and that was one of the basses that was provided.
Oh, okay.
So it's not exactly the same one, but
hey, I had to ask, because us bass players, we pay attention to gear, man. We're like gearaholics, man.
I know, and that particular bass, I mean, I don't remember it all that much, but I've seen pictures of it over the years, and it's got the weirdest. I mean, the headstock is like ginormous. Yeah. And it's a little bit different shape, and it's got like you said, that weird square on it or whatever.
I've noticed that. Another thing that I've noticed that I'll never ever forget, it left an impression on me. You were featured in an article in Guitar Player magazine back in December of '79, playing a very interesting alembic style custom bass called Hayek. Can you tell me a bit about the instrument? I do remember that it had a purple heartwood, I think, top, and it was so beautiful. It really, this is what a long time ago, man. So, in '79, this was the beginning of boutique basses, right? So, around that time.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Well, Hayek was a company that was based in on the east side here in Seattle, close to Bellevue, and they came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to try out this bass?" So I tried out a bass, just a normal one, and I liked it. So I had them. They said, "Well, we have this stuff called Purple Heart wood," and I said, "Yeah, go ahead and make me a bass out of that." And they put heart-shaped LEDs on the neck, and and they were good basses. But I worked at a place called Bass Northwest. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I worked there, and while I was working there, I had switched from. I was kind of disillusioned with the music business, and I was just really interested in hiking and mountaineering. So I just, for some reason, I sold a lot of basses, and that was one of them that I sold. Because there was a kid in town that was really interested in it. He bought all my Hayeks, and he bought that one too.
How many did you have?
3.
Wow,
I had a
wow.
fretted, a fretless, and the Purple Heart.
Mm-mm-mm. You ever keep in touch with that guy? Because I'm interested in purchasing that Purple Heartwood. I mean, I'll never forget it, man. It was
Yeah,
stunning,
yeah,
stunning.
it was a nice bass. I used it on tour for a while,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was good. Um, I also sold. I had an alembic that I recorded Little Queen with,
Mm.
and I was out of my mind, and I sold that too. So
For shame, for shame. But hey,
I know,
you
I
know,
know.
but you belong in the same club as all of us. I always tell this story to everybody, man, when we talk about basses that we've lost. I traded in my 77 fretless Gibson Ripper, LS9 Gibson Ripper, and my 78 Fender Precision, and that was brand new instrument. I traded both of those, and I had $200, and I really fell in love with this bass called Odyssey that was made in Canada, and it was the first time that I came across Bartolini pickups. So I love the sound. I love the way it played. I love the way it looked, and it was one of a kind. And so the day before I left to Los Angeles to go to BIT, Bass Institute of Technology, I went to 48th Street. I found that bass, and I begged the guy. I told him what I had. He said, "Yeah, come back with $200 and those basses, and it's yours." And then when I came back, came down, came back to the store after going to Brooklyn and lugging my, getting my basses and lugging them on the train. He changed his mind. He wanted another $200. So there I was walking 48th Street in Manhattan, holding 2 bass guitars, and I didn't want to bring. I wanted something brand new. So I walked into Sam Ash, and there on the wall was all of these brand new Kramer DMZ 4001s with the battery preamp, um, and I traded those 2 basses for that Kramer. And I mean, I have regrets, of course, especially for those 2 basses that now are worth like 2 to 3 grand, maybe more each,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that Kramer is not worth that kind of money. But I think sometimes, hey, it's kind of kismet, man. It's I really don't. I don't think that I think if I didn't make that move, it's very possible, but that my whole playing style and the direction of my musical journey would have definitely been different. So
Yeah,
hey,
you never know. Yeah.
you
And
never
we all, you never know what, even other things that happen in life too. I mean, can change your direction. I mean, it can be an improvement, and you don't know it's an improvement at the time, but it is eventually down the road. But we all have a
absolutely,
story about the ones that got away, I'm telling you.
absolutely. So what does your bass collection look like today?
Well, I've got, I really love my P basses and my Fender jazz basses. And, I've got a Rickenbacker and a, uh, Thunderbird, Gibson Thunderbird, and I have
Yeah,
the violin. Yeah, I don't know if have ever seen the violin-shaped Gibson, the little EB, I think it's the EB1, violin-shaped anyway.
yes, yes. I've seen that.
Yeah, and I've got I've got some really good pieces,
Mhm.
and then I've got some more modern pieces too that are, have a place in my heart too. But I've been using my Fender Jazz a lot with Heart by Heart. So
Mhm.
it's a 62, and I love it. And when you get older, the P bass necks are a little too wide, for me, and my hand gets a little fatigued
Mhm.
during the show. So the jazz bass has a slimmer profile, and
Yeah,
I'm sticking
yeah,
with that.
absolutely. Are you a round wound man or a flat wound man?
Well, I'll do either, but round wound for live performance. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if I need the round wound type feel, I palm it, with the pick.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was watching your technique on
Well,
the
there's
unk,
that's heartless.
oh,
Heartless.
okay. All right. Yeah, and so I was watching your hand doing that, and you weren't playing with a pick on that. You were thumbing. You were like thumb and palm technique kind of when you were doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to. It's just like driving a car. You just can't drive an automatic. You got to be able to drive a stick too.
Yeah.
So I go both ways. I do a pick and I do my fingers, and I can do a little bit of the thumb thing. I'm not so good at this slapping type stuff, but
Yeah.
I can get my way around.
It's cool. It's cool. So you are now, or you have been an Ampeg guy, right? Is that the amplification and the rig that you're using these days? It's
Yeah,
Ampeg?
yeah. For the past maybe 10 years, I've been an Ampeg artist.
Okay.
And when I worked at Bass Northwest, of course, I got myself a few of the vintage SVTs, from the 70s. And I really love them.
I don't know how you can handle that. You must have a great roadie.
The older style heads are like 90 pounds, and the newer ones, the VRs and the Heritage and stuff, they're about 85 pounds.
Mm.
But Summer, my wife, and she, like I said, she's my helper, so we carry it together. And of course, we only haul it like 2 feet. We take it out of the trunk, put it on something with wheels,
Mhm.
and roll it wherever it needs to go.
Wow. Isn't it great to have a mate, a soulmate in your life, man? That's part of your musical aspirations.
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
great. And Summer's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful wife, and she's a great person. Like I said, a great person, great singer, and we have a blast together. And there's okay. So I won't admit to being. I don't drink anymore. But back in the day, when we do shows, sometimes I get a little too tipsy,
Mhm.
especially when it was when there was a lot of friends around. So. But there were times when I would get so high that she had have to load the whole thing by herself.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and that's when I had an SVT too. But I didn't say that because I am totally responsible at every gig. Well, the thing of it is, once you do I never get drunk when I play, but afterwards you can get a couple tips.
Well, it's the atmosphere, man. The whole live. I mean, it's what we live for, right? It's that moment. I mean, the whole day could feel like it's the slow mo, but once you hit the stage, man, and hit that first note, and about 3 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, depends on how long it takes you to warm up. But usually for me, it's about 3 minutes or so, or whatever, or one song. Once the sound check, everything is mixed well, and I feel good about things. You start loosening up. So I understand that. I
Yeah.
totally could relate to that.
Well, the show that I'm talking about, it was only one show basically, and
Mm.
it was a kind of an all-star show, and Alan White was there, and a bunch of my friends were all playing at different bands and different jam situations during the night. And then after we were done playing is when. But anyway, yeah, 85 pounds, and Summer did it all by herself.
What a guy! What a man! What a man! I'm at the place in life where I have to designate that I make an extra $100 just so I could pay somebody to make sure that they bring everything up and tear it down. Because at the end of the gig, I don't want to touch anything. I want to get off the stage, say hello to everybody, shake hands, sign autographs or whatever, do whatever you got to do, sell CDs, mingle. I don't want to worry about any of that. So I actually pay somebody an extra 100 out of my my earnings just for
Yeah,
that.
well, we, Heart by Heart, we, so Lizzie, Chad, Mike, and Summer and I mean, we just take care of everything ourselves. So
Mm.
but we still do the meet and greets and autograph signing and stuff, and then we go back and deal with the gear.
you carry on the legacy today with the band Heart by Heart with original drummer Michael DeRosier. What are some of your favorite songs to play live?
Oh man. Well, of course, Magic Man was the very first song that I played on for the album Dreamboat Annie. It was the very first song that I ever heard myself on the radio on. And it's one of the highest testing radio songs ever, which means that once it starts, people don't tune out. They listen to it the whole song. And so that's one of my favorite. Crazy on You, of course, is a great song to play, and it was a great recording to make. Soul of the Sea, I love playing that song. That was on Dreamboat Annie too. Of course, Barracuda is a lot of fun. Everybody that I know in Heart will admit that played in Heart will admit that Mistral Wind is probably our masterpiece, and I love playing that song, and playing with Mike is fantastic on that one. And they're all good songs. Dog and Butterfly, Love Alive. I love playing all those songs. Straight On.
Yeah. Yeah, my first Heart album was Little Queen, so I love that album, and I love the title song on that. That's got a good groove, and I love the outro. It's a really strong album, and I do agree with you. I was actually thinking about that today when Magic Man or Crazy on You, comes on the radio. You don't want to turn that off. That's one of those songs, it's interesting that's a song that you won't touch the dial. I've never changed the dial on those songs,
Yeah. And me personally, if I come on the radio, or if Heart comes on the radio, and it's one of the songs that I played on, I listen to it because and I get a smile on my face because it's who'd have thunk, 50 years later, here we are, almost 50 years later, we're still listening to those songs on the radio.
You got to feel on top of the world, man.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to feel on top of the world.
It's fantastic. I love it. I'm so happy that classic radio and the fans of Heart have kept that music alive all these years. And, I thank them, and I'm really grateful. Thanks.
So Heart has created quite the catalog, and fans have a deep love for most, if not all, of the band's albums. If you had to choose just one, which would you say is your favorite of the albums you played on, and why?
Well, our debut album, Dreamboat Annie,
Okay.
It was the band had just come off of 3 years of intensive club work, where we would play 5-6 nights a week at the same place every night. We'd do 4 or 5 sets a night and we did it for 3 years.
Whoa.
And so the band was sharp as a tack, and we get into the studio and we record this album. And Mike Flicker, the producer, was very, very involved in the whole makeup of what was going into the grooves on the record. And it was a group contribution. Everybody contributed, and everybody had a say in everything that went on, and everybody's responsibilities were the highest they were almost ever in any of the recordings that we did. So, and I don't know, it was just such a great group effort for me. And, for me personally, that's the way I felt about it anyway. And then I just saw an article, like maybe in the last couple of weeks, where it said that Dreamboat Annie is within the top 100 debut albums of all times. And to be in that echelon, how many albums have been released in the history, so to be in the top 100 is freaking amazing. And I'm so proud to be part of that.
If you enjoyed this educational music program, please subscribe to We Sing the Bass Electric on your favorite podcast platform. We would love your feedback. Email us at WeSingTheBassElectric@gmail.com. For bonus material and a chance to win merchandise, such as autographed CDs and more, subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our mailing list at WeSingTheBassElectric.com. As always, thank you for your support. And please buy music from these spotlighted artists. It makes a difference.